read that all over again. Okay, so last week we so last week what we had a look at was control, the theme of control. So this week we're going to carry on with that, and just elaborate a little bit more, just wrap up control and then take it into another avenue. And tonight's session is going to be a lot of work for you guys. So the secret of success is to be ready when your opportunity comes. That was what Benjamin Disraeli said. And I think we overlook this statement. So if somebody is way back as the times of Benjamin said, the secret of success is to be ready when your opportunities come, which means that the whole going back to the mindset and how important our mindset is, because if we don't get in control of our mindset, how are we going to be in control of making sure that we're ready when our opportunities come? So that's very important for us to have a look at. And another great saying that I love is, hell starts on the day when God gives us a clear picture to show us the things that we could have achieved and all of our talents that we have wasted. So when opportunities come, and we're meeting people all the time with our opportunity, and we will ask ourselves the question, when is this opportunity wasted? When can we use it as an opportunity? What are our opportunities? And so it's so important for us to get our mindset sorted out when we're looking at these kind of things, because what am I controlling? What am I thinking? What is my awareness? And we went through all of that last week. So if you want to know about that, go and watch the video for that. So guys, I wish people would learn the etiquette of, and I keep saying mute all, and it keeps jumping out today. I don't know why. Oh, that's well, there we go. Right. Now none of you can talk. You'll have to type. Sorry, guys. Okay, so unfortunately, I will allow you to unmute yourselves when I want to ask some questions later, but please, if you could ask questions in the chat box, I appreciate it. Okay, so let's continue with this, and let's now have a look at what is the importance of our convictions and our decisions. So what we need to understand is that we have a controlling of our thought patterns. Who's controlling those thought patterns? What are we putting in them? And what is our space of awareness? Now we're going to have a look at convictions and decisions. So the things that we believe and accept as true, all right, these we make decisions based on our convictions. So we need to understand what is it that we believe, and we need to determine the way in which we can view our own lives. So what are my convictions? Where do my convictions come from? Why do I make the statements that I make? Why do I say what I've got to say? And what is that? Because whatever my convictions are, those are going to be my decisions. Okay, so let's have a look at this little bird.
Get up. Good bird. Come here, buddy. Okay. AJ, roll over. Roll over. AJ, roll over. Good. Do a flip. Do a flip. Good bird. Turn around. Good bird. Can you shake hands? Shake hands. Good bird. Put the ball in. Good job, AJ. Pick up the ball. Thank you. Put the ball in. Put the ball in. Put the ball in. Good shot. Basket. Put it in the basket. Put it in the basket. Put it in the basket. Put the ball in the basket.
Okay, so I am going to allow you to unmute. Please raise your hands. Oops, I don't want to do that. Sorry. Chat box. Okay, participants. Allow participants to unmute themselves. Right. Okay. I'd love to hear what your perception of was when you watched that clip. So if anybody put their hand up, tell me what you're thinking. What did you make of that clip? Yes, Wilma. And then Juanita.
Juanita can go first.
Okay, Juanita. Okay. All right, Juanita, go for it.
You want to steal my answer, Wilma?
No, you go for it, girl.
I just think it's phenomenal that you could teach a bird tricks, and the guy has to have the most phenomenal patience. How does he do it? It's like, yeah.
It's true. You've got to have a lot of patience to teach the bird. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then Vilma?
Yeah, I saw a video which was not clear, but
Okay.
I saw, if I looked at it out of the box, I saw somebody that was a good employee because he did exactly what he was told to do. At the same time, it must have taken a hell of a lot of teaching to make him do what the guy wanted him to do. So, yeah.
It's so true.
And he could
Awesome.
talk with his mouth full.
He could talk with his mouth full. Absolutely. Both of those are absolutely correct. And then Janine says here as well, anything is possible with practice. Okay, which is what we keep saying with regards to practicing our lines and our objections and those. And then Keith says that the bird is teachable. Okay, so repetition definitely must have been, hey Jan, like repetition. Absolutely. And anybody else want to add anything? Because all these answers are 100% correct. None of them are wrong answers. But I am looking for something else. Does anybody want? I am looking for something specific that hasn't been mentioned yet. Never give up.
He was risen from the dead.
He wasn't he? Jumped up. Never give up. Absolutely, Sylvia. Never give up. Okay, so totally 100% of that bird's life was controlled by its owner, wasn't it? That bird did exactly what he was told, and he was taught to do exactly what he was told. The bird believes he can do anything he is told, 100%. He could believe, so everything he was told and taught and repetition, he believed he could do. But look at that bird's reaction at the end when he was going up the ladder. Was he not hurtful? Okay, all right. Put it in the what? Put it in the basket. Put it in the basket. And eventually, was like at the end, right at the end, he stops at the top of the ladder, looks at that guy, and says, "Put it in the basket." So don't you and I, if a bird eventually gets to exasperation stage, how much more do we get to exasperation stage when we feel controlled?
Yeah. He also let himself be controlled.
He did. Well, he had the option, hey?
Because he didn't need to listen. He could play harder hat.
He would have probably been sold or had his neck ringed wrong. He had enough, didn't he? He'd had enough at the end. And that's the thing with control. And we need to be very aware when we're leading in our businesses, at what point are we becoming controlling? Now, for me, that's my biggest thing, because I've got to back off, because I'm a super control freak. Okay, and I super want to control everything, and I need to get to a point where I know that I'm starting to control the way I want you to do this, the way I want you to do that, and I've got to give that freedom. I've got to learn to let that reins go, because otherwise you're going to be that bird and you're going to tell me a little bit more than put it in the basket, Michelle, when you get to the top of the ladder. So we all need to understand that we do feel that when we get to that space of feeling as though we are being controlled. Okay, awesome. So thanks for your participation. I'm going to screen share again. There we go, screen share. Okay, that he definitely had to say at the end. Okay, so we all have personal convictions, okay, and different perceptions give us different convictions. So, for example, if you look at the pictures that you're seeing there, if the zebra, when he crosses the crossing and it is black and white stripes, maybe he sees it's a human crossing, because who gave us the right to call it a zebra crossing? Okay, so your personal convictions or the perception of where you see things, or very much like whatever your past is going to drive your convictions. And sometimes those convictions are actually not the truth. Okay, or not reality, or not what it should be. So sometimes we can have a set of convictions, but then we need to make sure and double check, are my convictions the right convictions? Because we need to understand that our past drives our convictions. So here's some few cuties. Okay, here's a few unhealthy convictions. Okay, when we overeat, all right. I mean, this dog wants all the balls, so he puts all the balls in his mouth simultaneously, not one. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen a dog with a bone. He's carrying a bone and he sees another bone and he wants to pick both bones up. Okay, sometimes we can have unhealthy convictions with regards to our eating. Now, here's another conviction. What about that? None of them, I mean, really, we've been going through a whole lot of things in South Africa right now, but you know what? We need to be all inclusive. We need to make sure that our convictions are 100% healthy convictions. Okay, here we go. Some of us are feeling this right now after COVID. Okay, what does it feel like to try and tighten those waistbands? And we're going for elastic waistbands. So that's where we can look at our unhealthy convictions. What is it that we're thinking about? What are our convictions and our belief system? And because remember, we're going to make decisions from that space. So let's get our convictions nice and strong and healthy, because convictions can come from three places. You can get public convictions, which means that politicians, for example, they can say things and they might not believe that what they're saying, but the crowd believe those. So they'll have an unhealthy conviction from a political standpoint. Or they could have a healthy conviction from a political standpoint. Another place that convictions come from is private convictions, how you feel. It's a belief and a thought that you held. But what happens is that it's what I think I believe. Okay, so it's all about my thinking, my control patterns and those kind of things. So convictions come from public, private, and then of course you have your core convictions, your personal convictions, what do I actually believe, and my actions are the same. So we need to say to ourselves, can we come to that place where our core convictions actually match everything that we say and do? And it's a difficult thing to do. It's not easy for us to get to that point, but that's why you got this card, and I hope more of you cut it out, okay? Because inside of all of this, I hope you have gone and cut your card out and you've laminated it, because you're definitely going to be using it quite seriously. But our convictions come from the inside, okay? So we need to be very careful that the convictions that we now portray outwardly, okay, to others are something that we've actually made a decision with inside. So that's where you've got the 6 different areas that we're going to be looking at. And the one is looking at I am, who am I? What are my body, my mind, and my emotions? The second one is, who do I know? What are my convictions about my family, my friends, and my enemies? The other one is I do. What are my convictions about my work, my positions? Here it says school, but it could be your element business, your team, those kind of things. Number 4 is I have, what are my convictions about money and possessions? And Juanita gives a beautiful story about, when she went to one of her work meetings, and at her work meeting, her bosses said that the company needs to diversify. And then it was a realization that started her journey, okay, on what is it, if the company needs to start diversifying, then as a personal individual, she needs to start diversifying. Respect, okay, what are my convictions towards nature, animals, and the earth in general? And then of course, what is my belief system? Okay, what is my belief system with regards to my convictions? And what we need to understand is that all of those convictions are going to come from what we're thinking, and how important it is for us to realize that. So that's something that's needs you to continue to go back and have a look at, what is it that I'm thinking? What are my symptoms? Are there symptoms that I can see? Like, for example, not being able to tie up your belt would be a symptom. Okay, and it's not the root cause, but it is, what do you believe about your body, about your emotions, and that kind of thing. So the same thing with the dog that's got the mouth full of balls. What is its convictions about play, and maybe stealing all his friends' balls, that kind of thing. So we need to look at, what are my convictions and where are the symptoms coming from? Because the symptoms are there, but how do we now rectify the symptoms from there? And we need to look at it from the inside out. Our thoughts, our belief, our life areas will automatically show up in these different areas. So we spoke last week about working on how we can get into that area. So what I'd like you to do this week as your homework is look at this and say, okay, if I'm going to choose, for example, out of these 6 areas, which is the one that I have a negative influence in right now? So let's say, for example, let's just choose, I had a fight with a family member, or so that would be number 2. So then it would be, okay, I need to go back and say, what are my convictions about that? Okay, what are my convictions about the fight that went on? Am I a people pleaser? Am I too dominant? Was I trying to rescue someone? How did that situation start? Because unless we go in and have a look at this, we can't actually move on. So the same thing would be, for example, at work, you've had a fallout with your boss, and I need to go back in and have a look and say, what are my convictions? What actually happened there? What was my belief system about what was going on there? Okay, and ask yourself the questions. What went wrong? How did this happen? What was the negative response to this? How did I respond to that? And unless we sit down and start opening up a journal and start processing these things, they are going to control our lives. And we don't understand the power of these little things that are happening in and around us that are forcing us to behave in a certain way, to respond in a certain way, or whatever it is. So start evaluating, what are your thoughts behind what happened. So take a journal, start with number 1, or just to first choose one of these, and just say, which one is the one that I'm having the most negative response to right now? And ask yourself a few questions around that area. So everybody happy with that? Do you understand what needs to be done there? Any questions around that, or you're all good? Because we're going to carry on to the next one now. So that's why you've got to get your chart, okay? Because you're going to start your journaling, and you're going to start having a look at your matrix, and start with the matrix and choose one of those 6 areas that right now you are not living in that peaceful space with. Okay, thank you, Lana. Thank you, Fran and Olive. Awesome. Okay, because it's time to start processing, because when we process, we become better. Okay, and the better we become, the better leaders we become, the better family members we become, the better friends that we become, and the more we love ourselves. So now what we're going to look at is the second theme. So the first theme was control. This week we're going to look at values. Okay, one of my most favorite topics is values. I absolutely just love values, because we need to ask ourselves, where do our values come from? Where does my value system come from? How do I identify my values? Because again, your value systems are going to come from your convictions. Okay, because there's good values and there's bad values. All right, and we need to understand what determines my actions. And let me tell you, your thoughts will drive your actions. Your value system will also determine on how you think and how you behave. And most of us sometimes will have a disagreement with someone else in our lives. But what we could be actually disagreeing is a value over a value. And I'll share a couple of stories from that's happened in my life with regards to values. But it's very important for us to look at our values and our relationship with our values. So Gandhi says, be the change you want to see in the world. And so what do we see in the world? And what is a better set of values? So when we look at people, we always make a prejudgmental when we see people. For example, if you look at these 2 pictures here, what do you see? And which one has got a better set of values? Now, based on our convictions, based on our belief system, based on where we come from, we're going to make a judgment call on either one of these. And we could debate it all night, but either way, these people have made decisions based on their core values. And which ones are better? Is the burn the bra era better, or is it, stay away from society area and work in a clique? So we need to find out what are your core values, and we're going to make sure we get that before we end this evening. So conviction is what is good or bad. So we can have good convictions, we can have bad convictions, and that all depends on where we identify our values from. So we need to make sure that we understand that values or life principles are going to differ from person to person. It doesn't necessarily mean that it happens that everybody has the same core set of values. So we need to also understand there's a whole lot of values, but there's a set of core values which are more applicable to you than to other people. Okay, so life principles, which sometimes can take like years to develop. All right, we need to have a look and see, how does my life principles, my convictions, and what I'm thinking tie into my values? Because most of us make decisions based on the convictions that we have, but your value will also, your value that you believe in will drive that as well. So we must be prepared to make some sacrifices. Okay, you might have to make sacrifices for your values. A lot of people will do that. Determine your actions and the decisions you make. That's what values will do for us. And where do we get our core values from? We get them from parents, teachers, spiritual leaders, books, movies, and a whole lot of other places that will come up and give us our core values. And it's important for us to realize that some of them, bad experiences, could give it as a perception of a bad value on something, whereas some can give a good value. So we're going to look at values in various areas in our lives. Values in yourself, values in your productivity, values in your leadership, values in your relationships. Now, like John Maxwell says, there is no such thing as work ethic. And so many people say you should have a good work ethic. No, you should just have good ethics, irrespective of where you use them. So what we need to say to ourselves is, when I choose my values, can I apply those values to my personal productivity, to me being as a leader, to me being in relationships with other people, and with me being me? Because if I can't, I then am going to choose a different set of values for different areas. And when that happens, I then don't become my true self. And so a lot of people, we need to understand, what is my core values? And each one of us should know what our core 5 values are. And so tonight we're going to have a look at that, just start the process to that, because good news and bad news, all right, whether you like it or not, guess what? You're responsible for your values. Okay, no one else is responsible for your values at all. So we need to choose wisely, choose our values. So what we're going to do now is, I'm going to ask you all to grab a pen and paper, and we're going to work out what your core 5 values are. Okay, and we're going to go through a process. This is not an extensive list I'm going to throw up on the screen, okay, but I'm going to throw it up on the screen. Then I want you to go through a process. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at all the values. When you look at the value and you read the value, I want you to take note of how you feel towards that value, because every value will have a different feeling attached to it. Now, all good values apply to all of us, and we all try and live according to the values. But there are values you and I make decisions on, and these values are so important to us moving forward. And so I'm going to ask you to now, I'm going to share screen again, and I'm going to throw it up, and I'm going to ask you to choose from the screen 10 that resonate with you. Like, if every other value had to disappear from planet Earth, which of the 10 you would say for yourself, without a shadow of a doubt, this is my core value? So I'm going to give you, I'm going to just there. All right. So just raise your hand as you finish choosing your value. Some of you will work faster. Some of you will work slower. So please raise your hand once you have got your 10. Go for it. And begin. Go for it. Thanks, Fran. And Olive. Remember, this is not an exhaustive list. There are bigger lists, but this is just to start. Thanks, Sylvia. Thanks, Yvette. Thanks, Prasisi. Thanks, Fernando and Ilza. Let's see, good. Olive done, Michelle done, Costa done. Thank you, guys. Awesome, guys. I'll give you one more minute. Thank you so much, everybody. Super. So for those who are still carrying on, please carry on doing it. So now what we're going to do is I now would like you to narrow it to 5. So you, from the 10 that you've got, I want you to carefully look and say, if I had to make any decision in my life, would it be based on this? If I had a relationship with somebody, I'd love them to respect this. In my workplace, and if somebody had to recognize me, what I want them to recognize me for? And from the 10 that you've got, choose 5. And once you've done 5, type in done, 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 done. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Great. So now you've got 5 values. I'm going to stop. Most of you by now should have. Okay. So now you've got 5 core values. So over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to show you what you're going to do with those values. Now, Anthony and I have written ours down. Okay, we've written ours down. We know exactly this. I know Anthony's core values. I've got mine. So just so I could share with you, my core values are loyalty, gratefulness, wisdom, perseverance, and excellence. Those are my 5 values. Anthony's was integrity, significance, and then the first one he chose was an actual fact So that it's wisdom, influence, and then wisdom and excellence. So it just so happened, and we did this exercise completely separate. So you can see why we get on so well is because our values actually collate together quite strongly. We've got quite a few core values that are the same. But as time went, Anthony realized that influence wasn't really a value of his, injustice was. If there's anything that can drive my husband up the wall, it's injustice. Okay, so now what will happen is, with your core values and how you live your life, these things will resonate. So when you have a disagreement with someone, go back and ask yourself the question, which of my values were violated? Before you say he said, she said, all the rest of it, before any of those conversations, ask yourself the question, which value was violated? And I'm telling you, you can resolve conflict after conflict after conflict if you know what value of yours was violated at any given time. Because your reactions and your decisions and your convictions are all going to stem from that value and that value system that is in your DNA. So what I'd like you to do tomorrow is, tomorrow morning when you wake up, I would like you to get someone to write on your 5 fingers, on the inside of your hand, because I mean, everybody's going to see the outside of your hand. On the inside of your hand, just don't wash the hand for the day, okay? I want you to write your core values on each of your fingers. And as you go through the day, you're going to work out whether that is really and truly a core value or not, okay? Impossible with COVID, what, to go out or have 5 fingers? Okay, so write on your hand. No, you have to wash your hands. So put it on the outside of your hand then. Okay, so put it on the outside so you can wash the inside of your hand. Not to wash your hands. Okay, so put it on the outside. If people ask you what you're doing, you just say you're doing a test. But write it on your fingers. One value with a pen. Write it on your hand. Then I want you to spend the day being super conscious if you can absolutely apply that value to every decision you make during the day. So, okay, not COVID now, but for example, if I shake someone's hand, and I don't very often shake a person's hand, but if I shake a hand in agreement, what I am saying is, if I shake Vilma's hand in agreement, or I give her my word, I'm giving her loyalty, gratefulness, wisdom, perseverance, and excellence. So I know whatever I do in agreement with Vilma, if I violate these values, I violate myself. If I allow Vilma to violate those values, I've given Vilma control over my decision making. This is how powerful values are. And this is why sometimes we do not connect with a company that we go work with. And I say to everybody when I teach how to go for a job interview, ask the company, what are the core values? And find out from the person who shares those values. Okay? Sure, I'll remind me and I'll send you this, or else you just type in values list on the internet and you can get a really long one. You can get a really nice one. This is just a short, sweet one, but there's a lot of them that are not on here. There's some that have got like 120, 200 values, but you then got to really spend time going through that list and narrow it down, because you really got to go to each one, but narrow it to 5. A lot of people say 7 values, but I say 5 because you were only given 5 fingers. If you have 1 finger missing, then it's 4 values, okay? Okay. 10 is too much to remember, Vilma. 10 is too much for us to actually live by and remember. So I'm going to say to you, think about how you interact with people. So when I step into a space of being not grateful anymore, I know that I personally am violating my own core value of gratefulness, and it's something happens in the pit of your stomach. That's how you will know this is a core value. If you chose it because you think it's a nice value, so for example, a lot of you would have probably have chosen respect or integrity. And all I have to say to you is, please, before you nail down the next exercise and say this is a core value, because your value will, you're gonna have to play around with a few values until you get that, until those 5 are solid. Okay, mine have never changed. Since the day I wrote my values down, mine have never changed. And I wrote my values down around about 2007. Mine have never changed. Anthony's one changed. But something might happen in your life, and your value, a core value, could come up for you because it's something that happens in the pit of your stomach. So go through the value, because what you're going to do this week is also, as you processing now your value, and most of us don't get a chance to process our values. So for example, Anthony used to work for Edgar's, and one of Edgar's core values was family. Now, when it comes to, but they never ever treated their staff as family. So how could they have that as a core value? Okay, so then if you as an employee had a core value which was family, and family meant everything to you, that you lived and died and did everything to make sure that family was protected, you would have a problem going to work every single day, and you would never know what it is. But when you understand your core value, you'll be able to say, my value of family is being violated by my manager because he doesn't treat me like family, treats me like a number. So you see how important these are for us to actually know our values. So one, write them on your hand until you can process them. I'm really going to suggest and ask you to go through this process and say to yourself, don't give up on this process until you're 100% happy with your core values. Just 5. To help you process, one is write them on your hand and be aware of it. Okay. And I remember a story. I was teaching a group of, in fact, government paid for it. And we taught this program in Garankuwa. No, it wasn't Garankuwa. It actually was Garankuwa. And this one gentleman who was unemployed, and it was to help soft skills for helping people become better. And he was an alcoholic, and he wrote his core values on, and one of his values was family. And that night when he went home, what he used to do is, in his culture, right or wrong, okay, he would hit his wife every day to remind her that he's the boss. And because we had written it on his hands, he lifted his hand to go and hit her. And when he saw it, he sat down and he sobbed. He sobbed his heart out. He came back the next day and asked us if we could forgive him for not treating his wife as family, because he had to learn what that word actually meant. And he was confusing culture with family. So when you're looking at words, please go and make sure that you have a look at the meaning of the word, because a lot of us choose. I'm going to go and have a look right now. So you can go and do it for yourself on your cell phones. Grab your phone, and I want you to type in the meaning of respect. Meaning of respect. Okay. So everybody says, and it's not everybody, it's mostly, I don't mean to, people demand respect. You better respect me and that kind of thing. So they use respect because they want it, they desire it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a core value. Because when you type in the word respect and you find it's actually, respect says, see what happened here now, it disappeared. I had it 2 minutes ago. Meaning of respect. A meaning of respect is a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. This has nothing to do with you respect me because I'm the male. You respect me because I'm the boss. This has nothing to do with that. So if my children better respect me. Why should your children respect you? What have you done with your own abilities, qualities, or achievements to deserve the respect? This is where we teach children the wrong meaning. And we teach children to say, respect your elders. How can you tell a child to respect elders when you've got an alcoholic father or an alcoholic uncle who's either abusing them verbally, physically, or mentally? But now we tell them you've got to respect your elders. Respect is the wrong word and it's used out of context. So before you choose your core value, please go and look at the actual meaning of the word. And there's a big difference between the word excellent and excellence. Okay, when you go and look at the actual meaning of those words. So I didn't want to be excellent. I wanted to achieve excellence. So my value was excellence, not excellent. Okay, so in other words, when we're teaching children, we should never teach children to respect all elders. We should teach children to honor elderly people. And honor is something completely different to respect. So if we're teaching children, we should teach our children to honor their elders. It doesn't mean they have to respect them, because what have they done to deserve the respect? Okay, so please, 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 when looking at your core values, I hope this is meaningful. So that's what you're going to go and do. Then the other exercise to do, please, is to go and write down why you chose that value. Okay, you need to go and choose, actually so you've chosen your values. We can identify if they are the ones that resonate with us. And then the third thing is, why did you choose that value? Because the moral reason behind it will always drive it. The moral reason behind your choice of a value will always drive that value. Okay, so that's the other thing you're going to do. And then we're going to go and live according to our values. Okay, so let me share screen again and see where we are at. All right, so, okay, so the next thing is the growth plan, and the growth plan is to go and write down the moral reason why. Okay, yes, I will definitely send the list again, and yeah, all right, so that's it for this evening. Okay, so this evening, next week, we're going to look at life purpose and how life purpose impacts us. Okay, so last week we looked at control. Now we looked at where possibly control could be coming from, and what is it that we believe in, what is your core value you're prepared to live by. And we've chosen 5 of them. Please keep going with the process. And what I would like to do is, in the last 10 minutes, please could you type in or answer, what is something that you got out of the session? What is an aha moment that you got out of the session? Either type it in or ask to be unmuted and share with us. But I'd love to know what it is that, okay, that was insightful. Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you, Tessa. Thank you, Fran. Different values causes conflict. Absolutely. Okay, here's a story for you. Okay, while you're thinking about it. So one of Doc Ant's core values is loyalty. Mine is loyalty. His is integrity. Does it mean that I don't live with it? I live in integrity. Okay, so but if you're disintegrous to me, it really doesn't mean anything to me. But if you're disintegrous to Doc Ant, oh my gosh, he can slit his wrists over it. Okay, but me, loyalty. If you break my loyalty, you're out. Okay, you can act disintegrous, I don't care, but don't break loyalty. And for me, loyalty just what you say. For me, it's a simple thing. What you say, you do. Okay, and if you don't like me, come and tell me. Don't talk behind my back. Okay, it's as simple as that. All right, so let's see here. The explanation about respect. Absolutely, it's a very powerful explanation, Michelle. So thank you for that. I learned that from John Maxwell himself. What is important to identify the moral reason behind your value? Absolutely, Jan. The reason you chose it. Your moral reason why you chose it. Absolutely. Yes, Vilma.
You know, Michelle, why you and Anne get on so well is that you have the integrity. No, he has the integrity to be loyal to you.
100%.
So he has the integrity to be loyal.
100%, Vilma.
And my aha moment is, how the hell do you come up with these subjects every week? And every week it's exciting. We walk away from here just inspired. It's amazing.
Thank you,
You're really amazing. So, I don't easily say that.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. These are the courses that I used to teach in corporate and that I used to teach for John Maxwell around the globe. So I decided, you know what, let me give it to you guys, because we do need to all go next level. And these are the things that are really, really important to us. So thank you for that. Okay, meaning of respect. Yep, Jan, I agree with you. Moral reading. Oliver's true meaning behind words. Guys, that is probably the most important thing any of us could ever learn, is what is the true meaning, because we so often use a word out of context. Different meanings on words. Fernando, I totally agree with you. Your values play such a key role. So Nate, we downplay values, but we don't understand how powerful the values are. If Anthony and I have a disagreement over something, so let's go back to the loyalty. We had a prayer partners that totally, like, really, they bang smashed loyalty out the back door. Okay, so Anthony being the one that wants to, where he says, according to him, the Bible says we must love our enemies. So I said to him, absolutely, I'll gladly love them and forgive them, but it never says anywhere in my Bible that I need to go and have tea and coffee with them. So out the window, out my house, I'm like, off you go. If I see you in the street, I will be civil with you. But it shows you how that loyalty was broken, and I'm non-negotiable on. I won't even let you back in, because I know you are going to break it. But that's my history, okay, of why it's so strong for me. And eventually, when we did the values, he understood what it actually, how powerful it was for me. So yeah, values play a key role. Different meaning on words. This is where it says, my aha moment is that sometimes we see these words and we align ourselves to them, but don't actually know the full meaning of them, nor do we actually act them out or live by them. 100% true. Excellent versus excellence. And this is why we need to go and look at the meaning of the words. Impact of a value on how you feel about an organization. Fran, too much true, hey, too much true. And when you go in and you see the value statement on the so if I go when I used to go and quote for a company, I always looked at their core values. It was the first thing. I'd Google their website and I found what their core values are, and then I would speak to the person about the values of the company, and then I would decide if I was going to work with that company or not, because I thought, you know what, I don't have time to play, and I stuck with the values. Okay, we can avoid future conflicts by knowing which values are violated. Absolutely. So often, also because it's my perception of loyalty. So if I get angry with someone, I need to back off and I ask myself, which are their values, and it's always the loyalty one. Then I've got to say, what do I think their perception of loyalty is? Because I am going to make a decision and react on my perception of loyalty, not theirs. Okay, and loyalty could be, let's say, number 125 on their list. Do they like loyalty? Absolutely. Do they think loyalty is important? Absolutely. But do they live by loyalty? No, because they live by another set of core values. And then I've got to say, okay, so then it's important for me to ask them the question, so what are your core values? Okay, it's nice, it's a nice opening conversation. How we live our lives, our values, how we can live our values when we do receive from a company we work for. How can we? Sure, Lana, you know what, that's so hard, especially if it's a nice conversation, and we've got 4 minutes left, so let me just read the other two. Our values are extremely important. Yvette, absolutely. This is a useful way to figure out our interactions and conflicts with the other. It really is the easiest way. Too often we think it's personality clashes. Very often it's never a personality clash, it's a value clash. So get to know the core values. So Lana, what I've learned is that, for example, I would start in the workplace, and I see that I've got a manager, for example, that's not living by these values, which means that they're contrary to what the company is. But if in general, everybody in the company is living by that core value, then I would know that that person doesn't understand the values. And so I would start conversations with my colleagues. Hey, what are your core values? And then we start talking about values, and then we say, what about the company values? And we'd say, I wonder what the CEO thinks of these corporate values. And then if we've got a good relationship with the CEO and he comes past, we'd say, or department head, say, hey, we're talking about values, and I just would love to know, what is your perception of the company values? Like this one, what does it mean to you? Because remember, his interpretation of the value is going to come from his perception and from his convictions. And does he know the meaning of it? And then we could prepare, and that way we bring the manager into this conversation. And so we start all looking at values from a different perspective. But start it as a light-hearted conversation, because remember, leadership is about influence. And anything that we want changed, we need to influence the change. So how do I lead the change in something is by influencing. I never do it by dictatorial, by pushing it or whatever it is. It's about that influence that goes from there. Okay, so I hope that helps a little bit. So thank you for sharing your value that you received out of the session. Next week, we're going to look at life purpose. So please, I will send you guys this recording, share it with your team. I would love to know if you could type and send me what your 5 core values are once you like say, Chup, these are them, just you can private message them to me. I would love to know what they are, because I'd love to know how we can share it all together. Thanks, Fran. Thank you, guys. Love you all. And boom, we got 2 minutes to 9:30. Thank you for sticking it out with me. Bless you. And I really, from your comments, you had a great session. So thank you, guys. Cheers, cheers. Pleasure,
Awesome.
Michelle. Pleasure, Jan. Thanks, Jan. Cheers, Keith.